Hare Krishna to all devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept mine too. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So, Sudevi Mataji's name is first today.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
You're here, Mataji. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Join Mataji. I want to go last Mataji. I'm not yet ready.
Okay, so before we start, please check your emails. I sent you a form just now. It's more like a table within your emails. And so there will be peer evaluation. That means all of you will be evaluating yourself. And there are 10 points during the presentation for understanding of philosophy. So that means if they are speaking from Prabhupada's books, or like if it is relevant from scriptural understanding, or if they're deviating from the philosophy in their presentation. So that carries 10 points. And if they have logically presented, if there is a logical sequence through the presentation, that carries 10 points. And if it is relevant to the audience, so we discussed that the audience is college devotees. So if they will carry 10, that will carry 10 points if it is relevant to the audience that we are speaking to. So so that's what we have. So so Devi Mataji, you can ask your friends if anybody else is going to go on behalf of you. Today we have Sudevi Mataji, Rukmati Mataji, Dushyant Prabhu and Shilpa Mataji.
Mataji, regarding the evaluation thing, it is only in the read format, so read only format. So how can we?
Mataji, you can just paste it in your email.
Oh, okay. So, okay, Mataji.
Yeah, paste it in your email, and everybody, before you make the presentation, please announce yourself so that all of them know whom they are evaluating.
So we have to evaluate for everyone, right? Am I right, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, or you will be evaluating for all your peers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Rukmati Mataji, Dushyant Prabhu and Shilpa Mataji, I can see. So actually, I'm still working on my presentation. So can I go last? And is it okay for others to go before me? Rukmati Mataji, are you here? Yeah. Mataji, would you be able to go before me? And others also, Dushyant Prabhu and Shilpa Mataji.
Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
So can I start?
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Are we able to share our screen and PPTs?
Maybe Mataji, can you give me the rights? Screen share rights?
Yes, Mataji, let me see where it is. Ajita Mataji, can you give her the screen share rights?
Mataji, just did. Can you try?
Okay.
So first, Rukmavati Mataji is sharing. So please evaluate for Rukmavati Mataji. So please skip Sudevi Mataji. Her name is in the first place.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So my topic of presentation is stress and its management through the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So here I would like to start with the definition of stress. So stress is nothing but a state of disease. So it is like a discomfort, state of discomfort. So it is a state of mind which distorts a comfortable way of living. And here we can see, from students to, and suffering from different types of stresses, and even the kids, because of, there is a discomfort in the parents, in the family. So basically for this 21st century, the major killer, okay, who it is killer is the stress, and not AIDS and cancer. So it is as per the research. So coming to various types of stresses. So the stress is caused because of certain situations, certain activities, and relationships that cause the trauma to one's physical, emotional, and psychological self. So stress we can see from the school, okay, the students are stressful. In the work, okay, the people are stressful, in the family and in the relationship. So there are some legal, finances, health issues, and environment, and living situations. So stress is a part of our daily life. Next would be, so I'll come to these 9 kinds of, there are some potential stressful conditions. So in our scriptures, there are 9 kinds of these potential stressful conditions. So one is the high parentage. Why it is? Because if there is a high parentage, so there is a lot of expectations. And then coming to this wealthy men, that is losing the money. The wealthy person is always anxious. Okay, he is going to lose money. And then next is the powerful person always is worry. There is always an anxiety that he's going to, okay, how his power will be lost. For example, okay, person in, a CEO position in the company, he has to maintain. So there is always an anxiety on how he can maintain, otherwise there is a fall down. And then there is an honor, fear of being dishonored. Beautiful, fear of having aging factors. And then there is hypocrisy, fear of being exposed. And for the embodied, the fear of death. And there is health-wise, like fearful of disease. So I won't go into each and everything based on our time. So only I will cover a few of them. So high parentage. So in case of high parentage, there is a lot of expectations. So like her family has to maintain the status quo. The parents also want it to be like the child to be this way, like having good habits, and having a good rank, okay, having a good rank, as well as, okay, having being first in the university, so that their family heritage will not be spoiled. Even in the devotee community also it happens, there is a comparison, and all those things. There is stress factors also there. So what will the others say? That is their own, always they are thinking. So another one is, this is a very famous boxer, Muhammad Ali. And he used to say, when he was, in his young times, he used to say this whole dialogue that I'm the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. So, but the time actually shook him. Over a period of years, he got Parkinson's disease. So one of the reporters actually asked him, because of this, he forgot actually, when he was very young, he forgot that he is also going to get old. And one of the reporters actually asked him, are you the greatest? And his response was, when he got Parkinson's disease, he said that, yes, I am the greatest. I'm still the greatest, but I'm the greatest fool. So that way, like, and then there is another, okay, fear of aging. That is an anxiety. So this is a very famous French actress who her name is Bridget Bardot. And when she saw the wrinkles on her face, she secluded herself on seeing it. So like she secluded herself, and she was not able to accept the situation. So likewise, these are the examples what I mentioned. So next is like a question to be asked is are all the stress bad? So if at all in our life, if we don't have a stress, okay, if we have too much of stress, then what will happen is we are not able to handle it. And if it is too much of less stress, we will become, boredom, or there is no stress at all. So moderate amount of stress is always important. Like for example, students, whenever their exam is there, okay, 1 month before the exam starts, they will, be under pressure, and then their performance will be, okay, enhanced because they will study. So moderate amount of stress is always very, very important. So it can improve the performance as well as efficiency. So if it is too little stress, it results in boredom. So stress, basically, why do we say stress management? Why not stress elimination? It is because we should be able to manage the stress. If we completely eliminate, it becomes boredom. So now the stress should be like a salt. Example is like a salt or strings of the guitar actually. So in case of the salt, if at all in the food preparation, if salt is too much, we are not able to enjoy it. And if the salt is too little, then obviously there is another thing that we cannot enjoy the food. So salt has to be in proportion. So similarly, the stress in life has to be in proportion. Like, if at all there is stress, we can manage properly. And too much of stress can cause unproductive anxiety levels. So similarly, in the guitar example, like if at all most of us have been playing the guitar, and if you pluck the string properly, the tune is, there is the resonating tune. Otherwise, the tune is like very distorted. So it has to be pulled. The strings has to be pulled in a proper, orientation. Next, now what is the cause of stress? So here, the cause of stress is we have a wide gap between the expectation and the actual reality. And then that is the cause of stress. So here I've given a simple example of a couple who is like, they thought that, okay, we will decide we will take all decisions together as a couple. That is the expectation. But the reality is like there is a difference of opinion, and then there is a wide gap between the expectation and reality, and then there is a stress. So now coming to solutions of stress. So here is a very good example. Like there are two ways of solving a problem. For example, a symptomatic and one is pathological. Symptomatic means, for example, here in the picture, we can see that a girl gets a boil on her face. So there are two ways of doing things is either you can just discard this, remove the boil off with your hands and it will go off. Or when in a stressful situation, you can take that cigarette and, smoke and, temporarily you can resolve the condition. Like stress, temporarily you can resolve. That is symptomatic. But the root cause can be known by only a doctor. So a pathological person like a doctor can actually, what he can do is he or she can, you provide the cure, he will remove, he will give some ointment superficially, as well as the root cause also it can be removed. So similarly for stress also, some people would take up to smoking cigarette, but initially they take up to cigarette and the cigarette will take them away. But a pathological condition, the doctor is going to cure it from the root. So either there are two solutions. To either you postpone the problem or you can remove the root cause of stress. So now coming to the Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita, actually from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we understand that attachment is the root cause of stress and attachment is the symptom of the mind. And actually managing stress is nothing but equal to managing our mind. So managing our mind is very, very important. So Bhagavad Gita was actually spoken 5,000 years ago, and where Arjuna was also in a stressful situation because he had to fight with his relatives. And Krishna relieved him from this stress through making him understand what is the root cause. So the root cause of the root cause is, which is nothing but the attachment, is explained very well in the Bhagavad Gita. So it explains how to manage the mind, and that way we can manage the stress. So now we have to understand what is the power of the mind. So here in this picture, there is a person, his name is Wim Hof, who is a 56-year-old Dutchman, and he's called actually Iceman. And this person is actually sitting on the ice. And the reporters actually asked him, like, how do you do this? So what he told is, he told that he controls the body temperature through his mind, and thus he is able to stay focused and undisturbed. So this is the nature of the mind. So how we don't really understand how is the power of the mind, but the mind is very, very powerful, that it can control. So he is actually controlling his senses, controlling his body temperature through the mind. So even in the Bhagavad Gita 6.6, there is a verse which is mentioned, that is Bandhur Atma Manas Tasya Yena Atma Vaiva Atmana Jita Anatamanas tu Shatrutve Vartate Tat Maiva Shatruvat. So what the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is saying, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for the one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So here is a picture of like the 5 horses. The 5 horses represents the senses, which is the eyes, nose and ears, touch and tongue. And the reins, which is represented, which controls the horses, it is nothing but the mind. The driver is the intelligence, and the passenger is the spirit soul. So for us, the mind is the controller of all the situations, but the intelligence should be the controller of the mind. And so intelligence will analytically think. It will weigh the pros and the cons, and which will direct the mind. And thus it indirectly controls the senses. So we always think from our mind, but we have to think from our intelligence, because intelligence is higher than the mind. So moving on, so there are so many, if you research in Google, okay, stress management, there will be so much of, information. But the question to be asked is, like, how out of those solutions, many of the solutions will fail, because when it comes to practical levels. So, but the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken 5,000 years ago, everything has been written on it. It will not be proven as false. So far, no one has challenged, Bhagavad Gita is actually false. So many people from East and West, they have endorsed actually, like there is Mahatma Gandhi and Emerson. So they have endorsed that, saying that this is an authentic book, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So there are some of the solutions is, like the practical solutions is, first of all, to identify our body. Who are we? Are we the body or the soul? And it is important to understand that we are not human beings with the spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings with the human experience. Another solution is mantra meditation. So chanting and meditation, it helps a lot. And the Mahamantra, which is the best way, is the holy name, chanting of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And with this chanting, what happens? It alleviates our soul. And the mantra, man means, the actually definition, if you split the mantra word, man means mind and tara means to regulate. So mantra helps in regulating the mind. So coming on another thing is the diet. Diet plays a very, very important role, especially foods in the mode of goodness. And you are, is this always said, that is, you are what you eat. And when animals are slaughtered, they are actually in fear. And what happens is the toxins are released into the body in that fearful situation. And the flesh which is eaten by a person, it is harmful for them as well. So another solution is having a exercise, doing exercise. Like our body is a machine. So the yoga, like pranayam and Surya Namaskar can actually help. And even now, how about, like how to carry out these practical solutions? So in the Bhagavad Gita, another verse, it mentions that the Supreme Personality of Godhead says that, O son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. So practice makes perfect, okay, makes things perfect. So with constant practice and by detachment, it can help. And another verse which says that he who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all pains by practicing the yoga system. So how important it is to practice the yoga system and regulate it. If we are constantly doing it with perfect practice, then obviously the restless mind can be curbed. And last but not the least is like there is a paradox which, first when this stressful situation, we have this, we will lose your health to gain wealth initially, and then you lose your wealth to gain health. So it is always vice versa. So it is a balance has to be brought out. And finally, these are the references from which I took some of this thing. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you. I'm done with the presentation.
Hare Krishna. So thank you for the presentation. So now please pretend that all of you are college students. And if you have any questions for the speakers, then please go ahead and ask. No questions? Okay, so we'll pause for a minute and we'll see if any one or two devotees would like to give any points of appreciation and feedback for Mataji. Anybody?
I have too much noise going on with the Aarti, so I'll try as soon as it's done, okay?
Mataji, we are able to hear you clearly. If you want to speak, you can speak.
Oh, okay. I think it was a very well presented thing. The topic was, of course, the one that all of us kind of could use help with. And Mataji related it very well to the scriptures. The only thing I would check is, when we are speaking to the college audience, I think they would question about the verses when we are quoting from Bhagavad Gita. So kind of making it a little simple for them would help. That was just my view. I was also under the impression that the audience is basically like the college audience who have no clue about um, about the scriptures or about Bhagavad Gita and stuff. Am I right in understanding that?
Yes,
Or
that's correct.
yeah, okay. So yeah, so I would be a little careful in quoting the verses. I would make it just that in the scriptures, this is how it's said, and I think that might be a little easier to understand. But the topic was very well connected with the scriptures, and for us, I think we understood it all, and it was great. So that was my feedback. And very well, the slide presentation was very appropriate. So well done, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Any other devotee would like to say something about the presentation? And then we'll move on to the next speaker. Okay, so please open your Excel, your emails and write down your points for Rukmavati Mataji. And then our next speaker, Vishal Prabhu, are you ready?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I need just a few minutes.
I'm sorry, Prabhu. I heard the echo, so I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I need just a few minutes.
Sure. So did you want another devotee to go ahead in front of you?
It's up to you. I'm almost ready.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll wait for you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, I just wanted to
Oh,
make
are you
sure that
still-
you have not started speaking
Just
and we
one
are
minute.
not able to hear you.
I'm going to need a few more minutes. Maybe. Are there other presenters today? Thought I was the last.
Yes, Prabhu, we have more presenters. Shilpa
Okay.
Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji, would you like to present?
Yeah,
you
I can
ready?
go. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous, but I will try, Mataji. Okay.
All the best,
So,
Mataji.
thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So my presentation is about demigod worship. And like today we see the people, they don't see what is the difference between demigod worship and supreme personality of God worship. So first I will like to talk about who are the demigods and what are their positions. So demigods are often mentioned in the Vedic literature as the extraordinary powerful controllers of the material world. They don't directly manage the affairs of the universe. The demigods are not different form of God, but they are all supreme part and parcel, just like we are. Supreme is one, and the part and parcel are many. So these demigods are just like us. They are ordinary living entities like you and me. But as a result of their performance of sacrifices and practice of austerities, they have been elevated to the higher planets and have been given a position of power and responsibility by Supreme Lord. So example, it's just if a whole group of young men start working for a particular company, they are all the same in the beginning, but some will become very successful and be promoted in the company and become managers and get powerful position, and some will not. So the demigods are like the successful workers. So in reality, there is no difference between the manager in the company and ordinary workers. It is just that the managers, as a result of their hard work and dedication to the company, have been promoted to the high management positions and working so well. Because there is a managing director and has many department managers, supervisor, and groups of workers, and they supervise so nice that all the activity of the companies are going well. The managers who are responsible for the many different departments of the material world. So these managers of the material world are called the demigods. And so both the living entity and the demigods are not subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desires, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, and the demigods are actually different parts of the universe body of the Supreme Lord, and therefore they have no independence. So the demigods and the living entities are dependent on the Supreme Will. They are not independent. And next point, I will talk what people think about the demigods. So there is a great misconceptions about these gods and demigods of this material world. And men of less intelligence, although passing as great scholars, take these demigods to be various forms of the Supreme Lord. And they make no distinctions between Supreme Lord and the material demigods. And they considering that worship of any of gods is equal to the worship of the Supreme Lord. And so who worship the demigods? So foolish people worship the demigods because they want immediate results. And when they get the results, they do not know that the results obtained are temporary and are meant for the less intelligent person. So in this world, human society is made after temporary things such as the material opulence of possessing land, nice family, and enjoyable paraphernalia, and achieve these things. So they worship demigods or powerful men in human society, and they are all after sense enjoyment, and they are attracted to worship empowered living entities known as demigods. So why they worship demigods? Because it is like it's recommended in the some Vedic scriptures for the different mode of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspired him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully received the benediction. Like for example, if one wants to be cured by the disease, he advised to worship the sun god. Or if one wants to a beautiful wife, he is advised to worship Uma or the goddess of Durga, like that. And so what demigods can do and they don't. So like the benediction of the demigods are strictly limited to the material benefit. They cannot give spiritual benefits because they themselves are not liberated from the material world. Even though the demigods live on the planets with standard of living far, far higher than the standard of living we have on Earth. Still, they have a material bodies which also get like old, get sick and die, and they may live for fabulously long periods of time, but ultimately their material bodies also will also get old, sick and die. So the worship of the demigod is not bad, but it's not the best thing we can do in the life, because they cannot give you liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So if one knows that both demigods and himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside, and the demigods and their worshippers are all precise goals. That's all I have to say, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for the presentation. How do you feel after it is done?
We don't believe. I know, still my heart is still beating so hard, fast.
So thank you, Mataji. Thank you for making this brave attempt to present.
How do I do that? But I don't know. That's only I can gather it and to explain.
Okay, now we are going to ask your friends how you have done. So please, any one or two devotees can share. Please share one appreciation in the beginning, one appreciation at the end, and any feedback in the middle. That's going to be our format.
Yeah, very well explained, Mataji, about, like with the examples, good examples of company and employees.
Thank you, Mataji.
Any points of improvement?
No, yeah, I'm just thinking with context from Bhagavad Gita and all about demigod worship. Like Mataji has covered enough good points actually. So I think it was good.
Yeah, because before I made the presentation, it was like I was referring the Bhagavad Gita's verses. Then Bhagavad Lila Mantri Mataji, they said, oh, this audience doesn't know anything about the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, so you don't have to. So I have to. Let's do it again. So I don't know. So I did not mention about the Krishna and about Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, very apt for the college audience, Mataji. As Rukmati Mataji said, the examples what you gave, because yeah, the college audience never know if we even quote as many verses from Bhagavad Gita. It was very nice. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Very well presented, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
I know you were so nervous, but it was a great presentation. I think I was just imagining myself as a college student and trying to, kind of comprehend what you were saying. And I think it was very well, like in a simple way, you kind of showed the difference between, the demigod and the god, and how and why we should do what we do. So that was well presented.
Thank you, Mataji, for encouraging words. Thank you.
Okay, should we move on to the next presenters?
I think so,
Krishna?
Mataji.
Hare
Could I
Krishna.
just share the screen? Share screen.
Okay, is it working or not working? When you're able.
Do you all see the share screen?
No, Prabhu. I have the rights, but I think Achyuta Mataji has to give some rights to you.
Okay, hang on one second.
No, I've given it to everybody, so everybody should be able to share.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so Hare Krishna. Today evening I'll be speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Dushyant. So okay. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna said, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. And he continued, Ahustvam Vishaya Sarve Devarshir, Naradas Tatha, Ashito Devalo Vyasa, Swayam Cheva Bhavishime. And this means that Arjuna is speaking to Krishna. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you. And now you, yourself, are declaring it to me. So, let's see the next shloka. This is also a song, and we can all sing it in a melodious type. So, Tumi Sarveshwari Ishvara Brajendra Kumara Tomara Ichaya jan sama. Tava icha mato brahm, ma korina srijan. Tava icha mato Vishnu korina palam. Tava icha mate Shiva korina samhar. Tava icha mate maya shrije paraga. So this means, O youthful son of the king of Raja, you are Lord of all lords. According to your will, creation and destruction take place in the universe. According to your will, Lord Brahma creates. And according to your will, Lord Vishnu maintains. According to your will, Lord Shiva destroys. And according to your will, Maya constructs the prison house of this world. Let's see the next shloka. From Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindam Adipursham Tamaham Bhajami. This means that I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Narasimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of Godhead, known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. Let's see the next shloka. This shloka goes like this. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Next is another shloka from Brahma Samhita. Yasyaika nishvasita kalam athavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagatandanatha Vishnur mahan sahiha yasya kala visheso Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And this means that Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth, again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, cause of all causes. Next shloka. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, Krishna Sarvasraya Parama Ishvara Krishna, Sarva Shastrikoy, Krishna Eka Sarvashray, Krishna Sarvadham, Vishnera Sharire, Sarva Vishvera Vishram. And this is actually from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, and it means, thus the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is the original primeval Lord, the source of all other expansions. All the revealed scriptures accept Shri Krishna as the Supreme Lord. The personality of Godhead Shri Krishna is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in His body. The next shloka is from our Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam Pura Bhava Samanvita. Bhagavad Gita 10.8. And it means that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And another shloka that represents how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is from the Moksha Dharma. And it goes like this. Prajapatim cha rudram chapi ameva srijami vai tohimam na vijnanito amaya vimohito. It means that the patriarchs, Shiva and others, are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. Finally, Narayana paro devas tasmad jatas chaturmukha tasmad rudro bhavad deva sacha sarvagyatam gata. Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. So, we have seen these less than a dozen verses that all speak towards how Krishna is established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's also mentioned that Krishna conscious people, we should not be bewildered by others in the world who are not engaging in Krishna consciousness, or simply those who don't have desire to learn about Krishna consciousness. And also, we should avoid bhashya or interpretations from unauthorized sources, meaning non-Gaudiya Vaishnav, specifically the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnav disciplic succession. Because the parampara is quite important, and we want to stick to that. And in this way, if we proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness, then that is what is advised. We have like 3 minutes or so for questions. If anyone has a question about any of these verses, I'd be happy to look at it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. It was a very depth analysis you have done. Very wonderful presentation, but my 2 cents, I feel like it'll be too depth for the college audience to perceive. But otherwise, since we all are like for a while, for me, happen to read all these books, at least for a while. So for me, it's very nice to appreciate. But for a college audience, maybe too depth. So it's my thought.
Would it help if we put the translation on the PowerPoint slides?
Yes, it will, Prabhu. What I feel is like, too much from the scriptures, like lot of slokas, and I don't know if for a new person, like, for the very first time, it can be kind of little generic and practical examples. That would be even more easy for them to perceive.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anybody else would like to share something about the presentation?
I think, Prabhuji, it was well presented as far as like, you were going nice and slow, trying to make sure we are grasping what you're saying. You went for the translation nice and slow so we could understand it. So that was good. Slide presentation always helps. So we were kind of able to keep up with it. Again, if I was a college student, I would really ask you like thousands of questions because it was, like Mataji said, it was a little too deep. So I would have made it a little simpler to understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. But I think overall you were, within your time limits, you were going at a very good pace. You presented it well. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Maybe one more comment or question. Ramcharan Prabhu is there?
He's not there for the entire presentation. Wow.
Okay, tomorrow we'll hear from him.
Is he there? Rukmavati Mataji, is Ramcharan Prabhu there with you?
1 second, Mataji.
Okay, so Devi Mataji, in the meantime, are you ready?
Hare Krishna.
Very well, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Any suggestions for my presentation?
Yeah, it's nice, Prabhu. It's nicely presented and it'll, it's very maybe little complicated something for students probably, but that's okay.
Ram Sharan Prabhu, I hope you're watching because you have to evaluate your peers. I hope you're not too busy today.
Mataji?
I said, I hope you're watching because you have to evaluate your peers. I hope you're not too busy.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you, Dushyant Prabhu. Thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah, it's almost as if you're going back to your high school. And if you were to stand in front of your friends in your high school, and the presentation that you would make to them would be the presentation that would be today. So those are your audience. So
maybe to add, some like visual, maybe some pictures.
basically, it's anything that would help them to appreciate the message that you have to give them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of shlokas, but some little form or way to bring them to the understanding that Krishna is God. I'm sure, like when I was a student, like I was introduced to Krishna consciousness as a student, and at that time I didn't even believe that God existed. Even that was a new concept for me. So we have all different varieties of people when we go into an audience like that. Like imagine your high school friends. How would they benefit from like if we have to explain Krishna consciousness to them, what would we say to benefit them? So basically, I guess that's the thing we have to do more. I mean, of course, the presentation is a tool, but the message is what we would tell them to bring them to an understanding that God even exists. Were your high school friends, did you ever preach to your high school friends? Like how did they respond like when you preached to them?
Actually, we were reading Bhagavad Gita, but I might have started with the shloka, the one that is from Brahma Samhita, Yasyaika, and so on, because there's a lot of, things about like astronomy and also, NASA, like Hubble and these things. So I think people can understand that, because there's a natural curiosity, and to, have some sort of mortal, like evidence or understanding, I think that is would be very complementary.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's a little bit dry, the presentation, but I think persons will definitely, they'll like something new, you know.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you, Dushyant Prabhu. Thank you.
Sure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Devi Mataji, are you ready?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Let me share my screen. Thank you. Can anybody tell me what is the option for putting it on the presentation mode? I have done a Google slide. So just doing present is enough, right? Because I'm really unaware of all these technologies.
If it's open in your taskbar, then it will automatically, once you push the share screen button, green button with the up arrow, it should bring you a menu, and you can select whichever screen you wish to share.
Okay, I think yeah, I'm able to. So I'll just share my screen. Thank you. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Mataji.
Is there a way I can hide this? Controls, hide. Hare Krishna. Today I'm going to present the topic, Who Am I? Hi everyone, I'm Suraksha Makam, and today we are going to inquire or try to know more about who we all are. Who am I? So I just wanted to I'm using my legal name because when we are going to the college audience, we just want to present ourselves as similar to them, as part of them, not putting our initiated name, which would sound little different to them. So I'm just putting my legal name in the presentation. So who am I? Am I this body, mind, or something more? So these are the age-old questions that everyone, including the great philosophers, have tried to grasp and understand. How do we know who we are? If somebody asks you, what would you say? Are you an American, an Asian, an African, or European? But when we say that you are an American or an Asian or an African or an European, it would mean that you are pointing out to your place of birth or to the origin to which your ancestors belong. Or someone may say, I'm a boy or a girl or a man or a woman. But these are all designations related to the body. But are you this body? Let's understand this. You see a car in which President Trump is going, and then you say, hey, look, there's this president. He's Mr. Trump. You actually see a car with a blinking lights and which is made of this plastic and tin. but you identify that car as Mr. President. Do you understand what I'm trying to point out here? We are trying to point out that car to be president, but actually the president is the person who is seated inside. Similarly, we also identify people, animals, and other living beings. We misidentify them as what we see as their external bodies. We need to change our perspective because misidentification is the source of all our problems. Let us take another example. Just look at our hand and we say, oh, this is my hand. We look at our body and we say, this is my body. So it is important to note that we are saying my hand or my body. Why do we say my? Why don't I say I am this hand? Similarly, we are not this body. Just like the car is not Mr. Trump, it is the person inside who is Mr. Trump. A professor of anatomy, Illinois College of Medicine, Dr. Harry Monson, he said that the human body is made up of majority of water and lots of chemicals like calcium, phosphate, potassium, sulfur, and sodium, magnesium, and a little bit of iron, copper, and iodine. Does that mean that our body is a bag of chemicals, or we are a body of chemicals and nothing else? But we feel, we think, we desire, we have consciousness. But chemicals, all by itself, they do not have any kind of feelings, any kind of desire, any kind of consciousness. Then it would not be right to call ourselves a bag of chemicals. What happens when a person dies? If we believe that the body is just a bag of chemicals, then the body is still present. But then who passed away? It is very important to inquire that the person who passed away is not the body. There is something beyond the body. Another example, there was a major car accident and a person involved in the accident, he was severely injured and he was admitted to hospital. Surgery took place and he couldn't recover. He was still breathing, but the doctor said he is entered coma. He's still alive. Usually, coma patients do not have a higher neurological function, like understanding speech, etc. But he still could breathe and he had reflexes. This shows that a person may be alive without an active brain or intelligence. We cannot therefore call ourselves this thinking ability or intelligence. Then who exactly we are? I am the spirit soul. The ancient Vedic literatures of India has provided the clearest answers that we cannot find anywhere else. They say, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Do you remember yourself as a little boy or a girl? So when I picked up my old photo album, I could see my pictures as a baby, as a 1-year-old, as a 2-year-old, and so on. You must have also looked at that. You can see that the body keeps on changing as you age. Once you were a baby, then a toddler, then a boy, now you're a teenager. The body is ever changing, and what remains same, which makes it possible for us to remember all about our past. It is the spirit soul. The spirit soul doesn't change, and that's why we are able to remember all our past incidents in this current life. Bhagavad Gita, which is an ancient Vedic literature, states that as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So what is the basic difference between body and soul? Body is matter, whereas soul is spirit. Body is not conscious. Soul is conscious. Body is ever changing. soul never changes. It is the same. Body is temporary. Soul is eternal. Once an interviewer asked a saintly person, Swamiji, I think our body is just a complex machine that gets worn out and crashes. Why should we bother about some soul powering the body? The saintly person answers, do you have a male and a female car that can unite? Oh, sorry. Does your car or computer grow? Do you have a male and a female car that can unite and produce a baby car? A living body undergoes 6 changes, whereas a matter just depreciates. It is the soul that makes living body alive. It is very, very important to understand that a dead body will not reproduce. It will not undergo any change. What are the 6 changes the saintly person is talking about? Every living body undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, maintenance, production of byproducts, dwindling, and death. Let's understand more. As we can see in this picture, there is a gross body, there is a subtle body, and there is a soul. What is this gross body? It is this external covering, which is made up of gross senses. And it is made up of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the subtle body, which is the next covering, is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. And the soul, which is the real we, is actually eternally blissful and full of knowledge. Because of the gross and the subtle coverings, we are forgetting our real identity of being the soul. There are more evidences from the scriptures. If someone wants to go through in detail, they are open to go into it. So there are mentions in the scriptures in Mundaka Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad about more about the size of the soul and how the soul's influences are found throughout the body in the form of consciousness. So I'll just read out a few. Mundaka Upanishad says that the living being is the soul, and that soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Chandogya Upanishad states that although the body withers and dies, when the self or soul leaves it, the living self does not die. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains that the spirit soul has no death and it's eternal and inexhaustible. He is completely different from the material body. But because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy and thus be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also mentioned that consciousness is a symptom of the soul and it pervades the entire body. As per our dictionary, consciousness means sentience or awareness of internal or external existence. So in a dead body, there is no consciousness. So a living body exhibits consciousness. That's why we say that the soul is present in a living body. Second, no one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Only the material body of the eternal living entity is subject to destruction. For the soul, there is never birth nor death. Not having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, undying, and eternal. He is not slain when the body dies or is killed. Example of wearing new clothes every day is given here. So just like every day you take a bath and you change your clothes because the old ones have become soiled. Similarly, a soul takes up new bodies when the old body has withered. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and it can neither be burnt nor dried. The soul is everlasting, unchangeable, and eternally the same. Knowing this, we should not grieve for the temporary body. Now, what are we supposed to do with all this knowledge? First, the body dwindles and dies, but the soul does not die. It simply changes body. Therefore, the body is like a shirt or a coat that we wear for some time, and when it is worn out, we change it for a new one. The body dwindles and dies, but the soul does not die. It simply changes bodies. Therefore, body is like a shirt or a coat that we wear for some time, and when it is worn out, we change it for a new one. We often care for the body and neglect the soul. So there was a rich woman who bought a parrot. Okay, she was old and she wanted some company, so she bought a parrot from a pet store. And then she put her nicely in a golden cage. And every day she would polish the cage very nicely. And she used to enjoy the singing of the bird. But she forgot to feed the bird. The parrot started becoming weak and stopped singing. But the woman continued to just polish the cage. What do you think it must have happened? Anybody? Would anybody want to answer what must have happened? Okay, so it is obvious the bird died. So we need to understand that we are not supposed to just decorate this external body which we see, but our soul needs to be nourished. The more we realize our spiritual identity, the more we will see that we are beyond these temporary material bodies, and that our identity is not simply being a white body or a black or yellow or a fat or a skinny or intelligent or a dumb or a old or a young, a strong or a weak or a blind, etc. Real blindness means not being able to see through the temporary and the superficial bodily conditions and into the real person within. Seeing reality means to recognize the spiritual nature of everyone. What is our duty? We have to inquire what is our supreme goal. Why are we suffering, or why there is suffering all around? How can I help myself and the world further with this knowledge? This we have to further inquire. So next session we are going to discuss further what is purpose of life, reincarnation, karma, yoga. So see you till next time. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Matajis and Prabhus. Thank you, Sudeva Mataji, for the presentation. Would anybody like to share how they felt?
I think it was very well presented, Mataji. Great job. Thank you. Very easy to understand. We could follow along the slides. There was room for questions, for checking the understanding. So I think it was very well presented.
Yeah, very nicely explained, Mataji, with the presentation slides and yeah, all different examples. It was much easier to understand. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji, it's very well presented, very easy and understood. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice, Mataji. Your content was like nicely powered with the relevant visuals. So I feel like it will be very easy for the college audience to perceive things. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I was trying to talk from the other place, but I don't know, some problem is. Yeah, it's I like the energy of the Mataji, the way she was so much engaged the audience. The concept is also very not so deep philosophical, that very simply anyone can just grab it, and also very interactive, and it is uh, it's well, I think it will be well received by college students or any common platform.
Krishna, Leela Manjari Mataji, you can also tell something.
Yes, thank you very much, Prabhus and Matajis, for taking the effort to make these presentations. And yeah, thank you, Sudevi Mataji, for the nice presentation. There's only one thing that I noticed, when we were doing teachers training course, one of the things that the teacher mentioned, so I'm just mentioning it to you, but I don't know like how it is relevant, but she said that when there is content on the slides, then most of the presentation should not be read. The same content from the slides should not be, the presenter should not read it. So I don't know why she said it. Today when you presented it, I didn't see that it sounded bad or anything like that when you were reading from the slides. But I do not know the exact reason why she said it. But I noticed that like when you were making the presentation. So, but otherwise with the examples and everything, I think it was very nicely done.
Yes, Mataji. Actually, because I was working till the last moment, so, I could have missed some of the text and try to tell it on my own. That could have been the better option, as you said. Yeah, but I tried to tell it in a way that it wouldn't feel like it is just reading from the slide. Rather, I made it as if I am actually conversing with them. So, hope
yes, Mataji. Yeah, it didn't feel odd at all.
Yes.
But I do not know exactly why that point was shared with us.
Yeah, actually, I like the way Ram Charan Prabhu made his last presentation on the topic when we were doing revision. Yeah, there was less on the slide. I mean, less text on the slide, more with pictures and videos. Yeah, that was very nice because I'm not very good at presentation skills, Mataji. Somehow I'm just trying, Mataji. So, with all your blessings, maybe
It's
I
good,
will improvise further.
We are eagerly waiting for preachers to bring more devotees to Krishna's lotus feet. So I think every presenter is very unique and they bring their own skill sets. Okay, so this is the end of presentation for tonight. We'll have more tomorrow. So we can again join tomorrow. I hope all of you can join. We had decided on the times and the dates a long time ago, so I hope all of you like made some time to be present for both days.
So Mataji, the link will be the same, like this Zoom link will be the same, or it will be different?
No, Mataji, we'll have to use Sudevi Mataji's.
When is it, Mataji? Is it not next Tuesday?
No, tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Okay.
So yes, I can provide the link, Mataji, again, no problem.
Yeah,
but it will log us out after 30 minutes, Mataji. And it will break the recording also. Then the rest of the part will not get recorded, or the before part will not get recorded. That is the concern actually. Yeah.
Okay, so
Kiran Mataji, could you lend us your meeting, Mataji, Zoom meeting?
I can ask my son, Mataji, and email you. I hope it's okay. As long as he's not doing something on it, I think it should be fine.
Mataji, there will be only problem with the recording because it will abruptly end, and while the first recording will be processed, the second part may not start recording. So if it is okay, then I can use our my meeting ID which I provided last time, or if Kiran Mataji's ID is available, we can actually do it without any interruption actually.
So how did, oh, today was Tuesday, that's, okay.
So mine is not a paid one, it's a free one. So it will end after 40 minutes. After the 40 minutes is over. So again, the recording will start converting. And then by the time when I start new meeting, the new one will not record.
Sure, Mataji, I can ask him tonight and email to the group.
thank you, Mataji. So
Thank
we'll
you
end.
everyone for actually allowing me to do it at the end, because I really was working on the slide, and sorry for the delay, Mataji. Thank you everyone for the cooperation, and also for the nice words. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.